The member for Solomon.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I move the motion relating to military commemorative milestones in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
I call the member.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I rise to move that the House acknowledge that 2022, this year, is a significant year, a very significant year for Australian military commemorations. This year marks 80 years. And in particular the 80th anniversary of the Battle for Australia, which was a series of engagements during the Second World War around our mainland and the Indo-Pacific. It included the bombing of the city that I'm so proud to represent, Darwin, by 188 Japanese aircraft on the 19th of February 1942 that killed more than 250 people. And this year we also cast our minds back to the 80th anniversary of the sinking of the HMAS Armidale in action in World War II. On the 1st of December 1942, 100 Australians died during the sinking of the HMAS Armidale, the largest loss of life from any corvette in the Second World War. The Armidale was operating out of Darwin and left Darwin with orders to evacuate our troops and civilians from Timor in the face of the Japanese invasion. Operating in broad daylight, the Armidale took a direct hit. Among the crew of the Armidale was, of course, a young Tasmanian called Teddy Sheehan, who was, of course, posthumously awarded a Victoria Cross a few years ago for heroically staying on the sinking Armidale to fire on Japanese aircraft, stopping them from strafing his mates who were in the water. And I'm very proud of all the efforts of all members of this Parliament and the Tasmanian State Government, the families and friends of the Sheehan family that worked so hard and campaigned so hard to get justice for Teddy. Particularly when we all rose in the chamber and spoke up when former Prime Minister Morrison said no to Teddy Sheehan getting that VC. We forced a situation where it was reviewed and the decision was finally made for him to receive that award. So I want to pay tribute to the amazing story of Teddy Sheehan, but also of those 49 men who were stranded at sea after the sinking and who suffered repeated attacks from the Japanese and also sharks in the waters of the Timor Sea. This year is also the 80th anniversary of Australian forces desperately fighting to push back the Japanese along the Kokoda track in Buna, Gona and Sanananda in Papua and in New Guinea, the Huon Peninsula, Wewak and on Bougainville. But as well as World War II, this motion also invites us to reflect on the 75th anniversary of Australian peacekeeping efforts this year. Australians were part of the first United Nations peacekeeping operation when military observers were deployed to the Dutch East Indies, now called Indonesia, in 1947. And since that time, Australian peacekeepers have served in locations throughout the world, ranging from the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia and the Pacific in every year since that time. And finally, this year is also the 50th anniversary of the year that Australia's fourth iteration of national service was abolished by the Whitlam Labor government on the 5th of December 1972. Now, these were all exceptionally important events in our national life, and it's only fitting that we thank all former and current personnel for their service in these and in other operations. An ASPI fellow, Graham DeBell, recently wrote that over a span of 90 years, Australia went to war no fewer than 9 times. He reflected that over the 100 years since 1914, Australian personnel were on active service for 47 years, or half of that time. That's incredible, and it says a lot about Australia's involvement in world fairs relative to our population and for standing up what is right, standing up for freedom and standing up against oppressors. And our country has seen a significantly intense period of service in the last 20 years in particular, But at this time, we remember World War II, we remember the peacekeepers, and we remember all those that served, including, of course, the families. Thanks, Deputy Speaker.